Now we're going to cover steps to resolve conflict consciously. So first, as a foundation, it's really important to take a big helping of humble pie and embrace not only humility, but also curiosity. Because being humble leads to being curious, which leads to continuous learning. If you're in an open headspace, you're able to ask questions and want to learn more about the other person's perspective and how it relates to your own perspective, which will not leave you defensive, but leave you open. So you want to assume that you don't know what others are thinking and feeling, but ask those questions and become curious to learn. Some prompts that you can give yourself internally when resolving conflict with another person is, how fascinating. I wonder why they responded that way. Or if something bad arises in the conversation or it takes a negative turn, you could say something like, this is really interesting. Let's figure out this problem and learn from it. Coming from that place of humility and curiosity is really key. So steps to communicate humbly is to encourage dialogue instead of debate. Dialogue is just simply a conversation with another person. There's no tension, there's no argument. You're just clearly and calmly explaining your side of the story. But a debate insinuates that there's some sort of tension or conflict between the two speakers. So by asking those questions and modeling curiosity, you're encouraging dialogue, and hopefully the person will see that you are not coming from a place of defensiveness. You are just genuinely trying to understand their perspective, which would hopefully help to bring their guard down as well. If you're coming from a place of debate, then you are likely going to be below the line, coming from a place of scarcity, of fear, of control. But by switching the script and asking those questions, you are hopping above the line, coming from that place of openness and having the willingness to learn that other person's perspective. It's also really important to give context and to be transparent with the person that you're talking to. If you're not open and honest with yourself or with that other person, then the conflict is never going to be truly resolved. It's also really important here, depending on the relationship you have with the person, to be really open and honest about how you are currently feeling and being in that moment. If you don't feel like you can truly be there and be mindful and with them during that conversation, you might be able to say to them, hey, you know what? This conversation is really important to me and I want it to go well. I'm not really in a good place where I can be all here for you and for us right now. Could we maybe talk about this later? People don't normally do that. People just pretend that everything's fine and they have a million thoughts swirling around in their head, so they're distracted and they're not present in that conversation. So being fully honest and saying, hey, I'm not able to be present right now. I'm working on it, but could we do this at a later date so I can be there for you because this does mean something to me. That honesty might be refreshing for the other person. You also want to stay true to yourself and your boundaries. Winston Churchill once said, "We are all worms, but I do believe that I am a glowworm." All this means is that you want to make sure that you are setting your personal boundaries of what's right and what's wrong in your eyes and sticking to that. Brene Brown is really well known for her research on guilt and shame and also compassion and wholehearted living. And she says that being authentic, especially in your relationships, means setting boundaries for yourself and saying no when you feel like you need to, even if that means that you're disappointing someone else. But you have to ensure that you're still being authentic and being true to yourself when you're having especially difficult conversations. So staying authentic in your communication also requires you to be honest. And if you can, avoid tapeworms. Avoid people that drain you. Sometimes it's inevitable and you may have class with them or work with them or be related to them. But try to avoid that interaction as much as you can. But if you have to work with them or be around them frequently, kind of brace yourself for that interaction, put your emotional armor on, be patient and kind, knowing that they might trigger you. And then as soon as that interaction is done, it takes some time to re-energize or to do something restorative for yourself if you can. Something else you'd want to consider when resolving conflict is not taking whatever the person says personally. We know that what people say is a greater reflection of themselves than the person or the things in which they're talking about. So try not to take things personally. And if you're whining, complaining, or blaming, then you are below the line and you're coming from that place of fear, of scarcity, of control. So you can try and catch yourself doing these things, and if you can, reframe the situation or your perspective on the situation to be above the line. You also want to make sure that there's reciprocity in the exchange of energy between you and that person. You don't want to be someone else's tapeworm. You don't want to be that person who is always always taking and taking and taking without giving anything back to that person. So making sure that there's give and take in every relationship that you have, but especially when there is a conflict, making sure that you are being heard fully and that the other person is being heard fully will resolve that conflict much more effectively. We know that listening is also a major part of communication, so a way to easily resolve conflict would to be a rare listener, receiving the information openly, again, not avoiding the words or the reality of the situation that you are in, appreciating the information for what it's worth, even if it is a challenging conversation, or the person is really giving you a hard time. You can take this situation or the conversation as a learning experience, as a way to test out your communication and conflict resolution skills. If it's a professional setting, it could be a source of professional development and a huge learning opportunity for you. Also reflecting on the information in the conversation as it's evolving, checking in with yourself and ensuring that you are staying above the line, reading the other person's nonverbals, making sure that you are communicating the messages with your verbal and nonverbal communication that you want to. And again, asking those questions, inquiring, seeking full understanding of the other person's perspective will help to resolve the conflict as well. These are some De-Stress Monday tips to help mindfully listen and also strengthen relationships through empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes. So, in summary, in order to resolve conflict consciously, you want to turn the friction from the debate that you would otherwise have into momentum from the dialogue that the conversation would turn into. So the first thing is to locate yourself. If you're below the line, and again, it's appropriate, maybe telling the person, hey, I'm really not in a good headspace to have this conversation, but it's important to me. Could we do this another time? Once you're having the discussion, finding the source of the disagreement, and then coming to a conclusion or solution once your side of the story is explained and their side of the story is explained as well. Next, we are going to cover the 4 types of communication responses that people can have.